Who wants to grow up? Simon, do you want to grow up?
Never.
Hello, everyone. This is W, aka William, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Today, we are at episode number 7, here with a good buddy of mine, Simon Leclerc, DKFM DJ extraordinaire, Mr. Melomania, who is here to offer up and share his suggestions on some album picks. And I believe he's going to be sharing some merch that he has picked up along the way.
Yeah.
And feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from. Feel free to let us know some albums you've been enjoying. We want to hear from you. Mr. Leclerc, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's you mentioned it's Sunday, so I believe you. It's Sunday, so that's all right.
It is Sunday. It is Sunday, July 2nd, and the air quality in the Bay Area is good.
Oh, congrats.
How is the air quality up where you are in Toronto?
It depends which way the wind is blowing, but yeah, there's definitely some days where we get that red alert that it's like don't go outside and do anything strenuous because not a good idea with the smoke. And it smells like campfire. Like 40% of the time it seems to smell like campfire in Toronto, which is lovely at first, and then you're like, wait a second, why does it smell like campfire? And then it's not so cool to think about.
It's pretty bad all over, huh?
Yeah. So, but it sounds like the northern U.S. is getting it worse than we are. It's like the wind keeps sort of twirling it around the Toronto area and hitting like Minnesota.
Yeah. No, it's I've seen some images. And very, it reminds me of California. I mean, we've been plagued by this and just riddled with wildfires over the past 8 to 10 years. And then hey, Slow Dive. Do we talk about it? I can't remember.
Nah, that's been the past. We haven't talked about them coming back again, but I mean, yeah.
Did you get a ticket?
Of course, I got a ticket. I got that pre-sale like immediately.
Oh, okay.
Got like second row balcony seated seats because I wanted to sit.
Nice.
So yeah.
So where are they playing? When are they playing?
They're playing a place called the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Toronto. I've got the date in my phone somewhere. Everything's such a blur in my life right now. I know it's in the fall. And so I feel like it's a Saturday in the fall, and I'm correct, I think.
Okay.
Slow Dive. Oh, September 23rd. It's in my calendar. Good for me. So yeah, September 23rd, Queen Elizabeth Theatre. Cannot wait.
So this will be, how many times do we have seen them?
4?
Okay.
This will be number 4 for me, I think. Yeah.
Is there a standout?
Well, let's just say my email address that I don't. It's what you go through lots of email addresses, right? But the email address that I've had since I was having email is When the Sun Hits.
Nice.
So when I first heard that live, there were tears. There was verklimpiness from me as I watched them put that forward. I love that song. That's my favorite song. I love it. You? Anything for you?
Well, so here's the thing. I'll see them in San Francisco. They're playing at the Warfield again.
Right.
Extraordinary place to see a show. But here's the thing for this tour. With the exception of the new song Kisses, they performed at Glastonbury last week.
Yep.
And they had a really nice video for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing everything I can not to read any reviews. I don't want to see set lists. I just want to go in like having very little knowledge. This will be my 4th or 5th time. And the less I know, the better it's going to be for me.
Yeah, there's no need. Just go and experience it.
Yeah. No.
Let it happen.
I'm truly excited. Hey, do you want to let who's here?
Heather's here, Colin's here, and Tierhe's here.
Yay!
Hey.
We appreciate you being here. Do you want to let the audience know what you do?
I always want to let the audience know what I do. So obviously this is not my job. So it's pretty apparent. But no, I've as we've talked about before, so I'm a student psychotherapist right now. So I did that whole career change with the pandemic. And I'm what are we now? 2 months into my internship of seeing clients. And so it's been an incredible adventure. And just it's a totally new feeling, as I've described to you before, William, where it's sort of honoring people's stories in this way and getting to know them in this special, like this unique way of their lives has been, I couldn't have imagined. It's incredible. I've really been blessed. I don't say that word often because I'm not really religious, but I'm blessed in that way of having the opportunity to get into this with people and support them.
What are you enjoying about it right now?
There's a quality to being a support for someone as their, because in the therapeutic relationship, it's different than being with a friend who's going to sort of go back and forth with advice, with kind of like their lives. It gets to be just about this other person. And so we get to really weave a thick narrative of these people's lives and look at patterns, look at themes, and then thought processes around those things. And all of those layers psychologically are so rich and so fulfilling to kind of explore and to watch my clients, because I'm on to like, 8 session with some clients, and watching them progress and work through things and start to notice things about themselves has been so incredibly rewarding. Really, really rewarding. Yeah.
Are these clients in person or online?
I've got a bit of both. And so Saturday is my jam-packed day of in-person sessions. So I see a bunch of folks in person on Saturdays, and then during the week, it's usually online for the most part, over Zoom. Yeah.
I think I asked this question of you a while ago, and I want to revisit it, and then we'll get into some of your vinyl picks here.
Cool.
Tell us what pattern, obviously you don't name clients or anything like that, but tell us some things that you have seen come about post-pandemic. Any patterns you've been able to pick up?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of anxiety for folks. And a lot of it is based on social connectivity, I'm finding. So sort of having difficulties in social situations that maybe weren't an issue before, which when you think about the pandemic and what it kind of created in terms of interactions, kind of makes sense. And so people have, what I'm noticing is a lot of patterns of insecurity, and that feeding into anxiety for a lot of folks because of the insecurity they have. It's nothing new. It was there before, but it's definitely become quite a pronounced pattern, I think, in conjunction with the social reconstruction that we've experienced through a pandemic. Yeah.
I wonder how much social media plays a role in that.
Oh, it's there. It's a piece of the puzzle. Yep.
Very interesting. I was actually thinking about you because I just saw a great movie that's getting a lot of attention right now. It's called Past Lives. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, check it out. It's a one of those classic slow burn indie films that I feel like it could be that summer movie,
Right.
that gets a lot of attention. Anyway, so if anyone's seen it, feel free to chime in. Obviously, don't give away the ending, but there are beautiful little payoffs along the way, and it's a very humanistic approach to relationships and the connections of our lives from our past to our present, and how it's all interwoven, and how it affects our behavior, who we are today. I don't know. Check it out. It's called Past Lives.
I'm in.
Okay. Well, I'm here to hear some vinyl picks. What do you have for us?
So I'm going to start off with the one that's like kind of a newer release from the 5 that I picked. And so this is Nabiha Iqbal, her new album Dreamer, and I had the chance to see her in concert a couple of weeks ago, And I mean, I love the album already. Saw that she was coming into Toronto. She played a very small venue, maybe 80 people at the show. So like small venue. The Baby G, for those that know. And she has such a presence to her. And she actually is a human rights lawyer, or she was before. So she's highly intelligent, highly articulate, and she does like broadcast stuff for the BBC now. And so she's an all around very, very interesting person. And in concert, she'd throw little literary things out and ask if we'd read certain books during her show, and then how that tied into the song that she was about to play in terms of the literary stance or positioning or that kind of thing. I think she asked us if we'd read Far from the Madding Crowd at one point, because one of the things was like a juxtaposition or a comment on Thomas Mann. Stuff like that, where I was just like, this is not what I like. You don't go to shows expecting that, obviously.
Right. Unless you go to a Billy Bragg show.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And she does it in that kind of like engaging way. It wasn't too long. It was like 30 seconds to a minute that she kind of asked, like, say a few things. And then the show itself was incredible. Her rhythm section in particular did some extraordinary stuff, like sort of very jazzy, heavy stuff within dream pop, which it sounded amazing. It sounded incredible. So highly recommend if Nabiha Iqbal comes to town, check her out. And the album Dreamer, like I said, is top. It's one of my favorites so far this year. Really, really great album. Blend of sort of electronic stuff, some dream pop stuff. Those are kind of the two major things. And she does some spoken word on it as well, which I find highly effective with the quality of her voice. Yeah.
So when you sent over that suggestion, I took a listen and instantly it grabbed me. It didn't. Yeah. Instantaneously. And there's a track here towards the end. It is actually my favorite track on the album Dreamer. It is called A Tender Victory.
Mm-hmm.
What I appreciate about not only this song, but the album in its entirety is that there's a lot of variety here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not this sprawling variety. It's contained. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me a little bit of Kelly Lee Owens.
Oh, actually, yeah, I could see that.
I didn't realize the background that you had shared, so thank you for that. There's some great dreamy moments, some great indie moments, electronic moments, and no, it's solid pick. Mm-hmm. When you were at the show, was it a sold out show?
I don't think it was. I'll be honest. It didn't feel like it was sold out. So, and she doesn't quite have. It was her second time through Toronto, but she did a DJ set last time. She said so because she sort of toured as a DJ because she's done more electronic stuff in the past. And this is her second album. Her first album and this album under Nabiha Iqbal are both kind of more of a blend of electronic, spoken word, and dream pop. So yeah.
No, great stuff. All right. Oh, by the way, do you have a favorite track from that album two?
To be honest, I keep going back to Dreamer and Closer Lover, the very last song on the album. When they did it live, that was the one where there was loads of additional jazz fills as it sort of like outroed, and we all just sat there going like, "What are you doing? This is incredible!" Because it just sort of it swelled with precision and chills. Really, really great. But yeah, and it's on Ninja Tune. I thought that was so odd. I was like, Ninja Tune. It's like you said, my trip hop. My trip hop is on Ninja Tune. So,
and she lives in London.
As far as from what I can remember, I think she mentioned London. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Next up, going to some Canadian stuff here. So this is No Joy, Wait to Pleasure. The reason I picked this is they just did a reissue of this with some bonus tracks. This is the original pressing of it when it came out, which became very hard to find. I have one, and so
you've got it all.
I'm such a nerd. I have it. It's great. I always enjoyed the inside of this. I was just kind of freaking me out. I'm not sure you can see that or not. It's just the artwork is discombobulating, which I enjoy immensely. So this is honestly probably one of my favorite Canadian albums of all time. It's it's shoegaze, it's dream pop with a bit of an edge to it. And it's actually, this was back when it was two people, because No Joy is now just Jasmine. So they're from Montreal. So I think the last two albums that No Joy has done has just been Jasmine. Before that, there was, I think her name was Laura. Laura was on this one too. They used to co-write the songs, I think, a little bit more. And then Jasmine took it over and it changed direction. Like No Joy doesn't sound like this anymore. This is the last album where they were kind of like a shoegaze dream pop band. And earlier, like Ghost Blonde, that was also in the same vein. But now she's very eclectic. She does lots of different things, including metal and pop. So, yeah.
Did she? Album, who did the album cover? The artwork there?
I have no idea. Yeah,
okay.
I couldn't tell you. Could not tell you.
Then you said they're from Montreal.
Yeah, or as we call it, Montreal.
Montreal.
That's how we can tell Americans. We always know Americans when they say Montreal.
Yeah,
so
Montreal.
There's lots of stuff we say that you kind of go, "Hey, you're Canadian," because you said you're OU funny. Just get me to say like mouse and house for it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, you're Canadian." So Montreal. Think of it as a U.
The track Blue Neck Riviera was the one that really caught my attention. So we're going to listen to that for a sec here.
Cool.
I noticed the albums that you pick. This is why I love the show. I love doing the show with you. Is that there's such a just a really eclectic sound to it sometimes, but yet familiar sound. So when I heard that track, and I'm sure someone's going to argue with me, maybe you, but that reminded me of Curve like instantly. Even though it doesn't, but so I don't know. There's always a connection to these albums to our past. What's some of your favorite tracks from the?
I'm gonna play a little trivia with you for a second, just because you've listened. I think you've listened to my show, right? Like my radio show.
Yeah.
Such a weird thing to say right now. So, have you ever listened to my intro song? Because guess what?
Is it Curve? Oh, it is?
No. Like it's on this album. There's one of the songs on this album that's actually my intro song for my radio show.
Is it Lunar Phobia?
Nope. How many? So you got like what, 8 picks left?
I'm going Prodigy.
Nope.
Heather, help me out. Come on, Heather.
Anybody?
Come on,
Anybody?
Heather.
So if you've listened to Melomania Safety Zone.
I know it is. It's Pleasure.
Nope. Wow.
Oh.
There's so few songs left.
Let's go all the way. All right, where'd you get there? Which one is it?
It's Slug Night.
This one? Oh. Damn.
That's my intro song.
How the hell did you pick that?
I love that song.
Out of thousands of songs, like that's it.
Well, I with the show at that point in time, at least it wasn't with DKFM yet. So I was the Canadian DJ. So I wanted to have intro and outro songs that were both Canadian. And that was the first thing. And then I'm like, well, what's a Canadian song that I love and has a good riff progression? That'll be like a good punchy intro. And it took no time at all. I'm like, that's going to be the intro. And then it was more to do with the outro, which then Greg actually picked.
Thank you for that trivia.
No problem.
Okay, everyone remember that. Slug Night. Slug Night.
Slug Night.
Track number 4. All right, let's go from No Joy to
J-Som. So J-Som, Aniko, Melina is a genius. This woman, she's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm trying to think of what to say about this. This is one of those albums that the first time I listened to it, Superbike, which is the second song. Yeah, the second song, Superbike, very catchy, radio friendly, dream pop song with like guitar. Fine. And you're like, I love that song. The more you listen to the album, everything else kind of catches up to it. There's so much going on in the other tracks, even though it's just like jangly, dreamy pop, guitar pop stuff. It's so well crafted. Like the guitar intricacies and things that she's doing are simple yet textured and layered, so that it grows over time. So like the more I listened to this album, the more I loved it. To the point where I don't really have a favorite anymore. Like they all just kind of it's an album together. It really is a cohesive piece of artwork. So I love it, and this is actually a really nice. I only show the pressings that are kind of like colorful. If it's a black pressing, I feel like you're all like, "Hey, black vinyl, good for you." But this is a nice pressing. I enjoyed this, and so it's got a nice color to it, and it's got like speckles of orange in it that come a bit more. That's
nice.
It's done really. It's a nice pressing.
That came out in 2020.
I feel like it was earlier than that. 2019 maybe, or 2018.
What's the title referred to?
I don't know. I was actually trying to figure that out. She does like word generator things as titles for things, because JSON came from that as well. So it might be related to that, or it might be a translation of something. Because I know that she does that as well. She's has Filipino heritage. So I know that sometimes she brings sort of family ideas or heritage into some of her art as well. But
if someone wants to look that up, that would be awesome.
Anik, go.
Now, I actually did some homework. I know, can you believe it?
Good for you.
And I looked up who mastered that album.
Oh. I feel like I knew this at one point. Because it was, is it Jorge? Like Jorge Elbrecht?
No.
No?
I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Heba Kadri.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know her name.
She's done work with Beach House, Future Islands,
right.
Slow Dive.
Okay, so it all kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So she's kind of like the Simon Scott right now.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you go to her site, she's got a pretty cool site. Heba.
Oh, I recognize that now. You spell it. Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It'd be like Heba or Heba. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then Jason's real name is, you said Melina May.
Like Melina. It's like Duterte. I don't know how to pronounce her last name very well, so I usually just say Melina because it's just easier.
And have you seen her live?
Yeah, 3 times I think I've seen her live. I really enjoy like the live show. She brings solid musicians with her, and they do a really good job of creating. Because I saw her touring this record on. I think I told you this last time. So I showed the T-shirt from one of the shows in maybe the last episode. And it was during the day that we finalized a CBA with the school, like a union negotiation. I was in like a shitty place mentally because CBA negotiations are not fun. And that night when we like ratified the agreement was the night of the JSOM show for NCO. And it was the best thing ever. And then I loved it. It enveloped me. It comforted me. It soothed me. And then like Molly from, oh my God.
Always.
Yes. Thank you. I'm like, why can't I remember Molly's band right now? She was like right in front of me. So I'm just like, this is obviously a sign, because she goes to a lot of gigs in Toronto, like guitar indie pop gigs. So like, and Molly's here too. So this is meant to be. And then I went home feeling a lot better after a shitty day. So thank you, Jason, for healing me.
If you feel comfortable, since we're talking about shows, if you feel comfortable, would you like to share with us a concert that you had high hopes for and left feeling very disappointed?
Dear Lord, I would need to give that more thought.
Okay.
I would need to look through my ticket stubs and T-shirts. Actually, probably not T-shirts, ticket stubs, because I wouldn't buy a T-shirt if I was disappointed. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been a few where I was like, yeah. The last time I saw Spiritualized, I'm like, this is it. I think I'm done. So yeah. Well, watching him sit on the side of the stage, it's like, okay, so this is where we're at. I don't need to see this in concert anymore. It used to have like a special meaning for me, and I've seen him a ton of times, and it was like, okay, I think I'm good for a little while. But it's overall, it's a tricky question because there's definitely been a few where I've gone in and was like, okay, that was not as good as I was hoping.
If anyone wants to answer that question in the chat box, go for it. My name is W, aka William, host of the High Art on the Edge page. I'm here with DJ Simon Leclerc. He is sharing his vinyl picks with us. We just heard a little bit of his suggestions for Jason. Next album.
I'm going to go with the rock that you're playing at the beginning. So Colleen Green, I Want to Grow Up. This is kind of a weird pick for me, I think. This harkens back more to what I was really into back in university in the 90s.
Okay.
And so
I was surprised
you
picked this.
Yeah, this is more like my Juliana Hatfield, Liz Phair kind of, but more modern day stuff. And there's a connection there. So don't let me forget the Juliana Hatfield connection to the next album I'm going to show you. But anyways, this also is one of those records that I sometimes like a bit of like power guitar, bubblegum pop coded stuff. Even like Velocity Girl had moments of this, right?
Yes.
Like the Audrey's Eyes kind of moments and whatnot. So when I first got this, I was like, it's not bad. It's kind of catchy and it gets me bouncing around the apartment a little bit. And I like it. And then I just kept listening to it over and over and over again. And certain tracks started to be like really, really interesting that are not like the main tracks on the album. So like Deeper Than Love, that like synthy track that's at the end of the first side on the record is incredible. And The Things That Are Bad For Me Part 2, which has a really weird section that kind of goes like off kilter and slows down and then just does some really cool stuff in terms of flow. And those are not like main singles because those are like, not. But what did you think? Because you gave it a listen, I could tell. You've given it a whirl.
I did. I've listened to it twice. Like I said, my initial reaction is, that's an interesting pick. The first thing I thought of Tanya Donnelly.
Yeah, bit of belly.
And Juliana Hatfield.
Yep.
Is she from? She's from Boston, right? Or is it L.A.?
Colleen Green. I think she's Los Angeles based. I don't know if she's from there.
Okay.
She's Los Angeles based.
But you're right. At first, I was like, okay, oh, nice.
It's kind of a fun, clear but painted vinyl. And her as a kid.
Now, have you seen her perform?
No, I haven't. She's come through Toronto a couple of times, and I've just managed to either not know about it because they're super small and just not well advertised, or I just haven't been around to check out her shows. But I'd like to see her in concert because to me, it'd be a fun rock show, right? Like,
yeah. like how many albums does she have? 2?
I think she's got 2 albums and then like sort of singles and little things here and there. But she's got 2 proper albums from what I understood. But she doesn't really seem to do a whole lot. She's on Hardly Art. She kind of does things at her own pace. And I think just kind of hangs out and does session work as well. Does some guitar work for other people. And so.
No, I think the way you described it is actually what I was doing, because you said something about messing around in your apartment or cleaning or something. That's exactly what I was doing in this office.
Yeah. He's just like, hey,
vacuum, dusting, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. No. It's really good for that.
Yeah. Colleen Green, Some People was my favorite track. What about for you?
Things That Are Bad For Me Part 2, honestly, that change in pace and I think key even really throws me off in a way that I love. And it's just a short track, but it gives me tingles when I get to that particular track. Yeah.
Good pick.
Right. I like something different, right? A little indie rock.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Speaking of indie rock, you ready for my last vinyl selection?
Is it going to change your tone of voice?
What do you mean? I don't know if I can't do this. I actually need a balloon. So yes, helium. The Dirt of
Very
Luck.
nice.
My like classic pick, I guess. Classic for us. And I married Timony. What else can I say? So the thing that I wanted to bring up is I mentioned the Juliana Hatfield thing. So the original lineup of Helium had her brother. So Jason Hatfield was in Helium originally.
Okay.
And like when they're doing the early recordings, and then eventually like Ash Bowie from Polvo joined because I think they were dating. Mary and Ash, I think, were actually together as a couple. And then, of course, not. And this album, though, is just one of those indie rock staples. So I was trying to include like what I considered an indie rock staple from the 90s that people generally know about, but some people might not. And if they don't, they need to get on it because it's just super
They're from Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, and I brought this as well, just because like the Super Bowl EP led into the Dirt of Luck. So this came out first, and then they re-recorded Super Bowl for the Dirt of Luck. So it sounds a little bit different on the EP than it does on the album. And I prefer the EP version of Super Bowl. And this also has my favorite Helium track on it that is not on anything else. What Institution Are You From?
Ooh.
Which is just an amazing song. And it's all in the same ilk as the Dirt of Luck. But for some reason, that song is only on this and only Super Bowl made it from this to the album. Whatever.
Do you remember that magazine? I think it's still around, Alternative Press.
Well, I think so. Yeah. Why? Yeah.
Because that was a band along with Superchunk, Quicksand. That was like the staple of that magazine, that time period. Belly a little bit. God, I'm sure I can't. Polvo. It's just all Velocity Girl, all in that kind of that sphere of music. And so when you picked that, I was like, that took me back to that magazine. I don't know if it's still in publication, but man, that magazine, I could sit at a coffee shop and read for hours. That and The Big Takeover.
Yeah.
Were you a coffee sitter, magazine reader?
I used to go to coffee shops and read. So we have something in Canada called Exclaim. So they used to do, well, they still do music sections. And so with a slightly more of a hit on Canadian artists. Okay. And so I used to bring that to, you could pick that up at a coffee shop and read it while you're at the coffee shop kind of thing. And it was just a newspaper basically that had music and arts. And it would list all of the gigs coming up. So before internet listing all the gigs, I used to use Exclaim or sometimes Now Magazine to look at what gigs were coming up and look at their reviews. And so, yeah, I'm there. That was great. So I love spending my afternoons during the weekend, just sort of doing that at a coffee shop. And it's a big part of being an indie rocker back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Where do I get my information from? Yeah.
I'd get that. NME, of course, Melody Maker. I'd sit down, just like I would study the thing.
Well, it's interesting. Did you ever, because there was a shoegaze magazine, rather short-lived, called Losing Today. I think they only had maybe 3 or 4 issues. And I remember finding one once at a bookstore and being like floored. And I bought it. I still have it somewhere. And it was like a shoegaze magazine, but like bizarrely after the fact. Because it wasn't like in the early 90s. It was like mid or late 90s that Losing Today came out. And it was a great magazine.
Have a copy of it?
I do somewhere, but I honestly don't know where I've put it at this point.
Yep.
You found it for me? Oh, my wife found it for me. She just informed me. Thanks. Oh, that's right. Because she worked at bookstores. So she worked at a bookstore and she was like, what the is this?
Wait, so she has it right now in her hand? Oh, no, we lost you.
Oh, you lost me?
Oh, there you are. There you are.
She doesn't.
Now, there you are.
Am I back?
You're back now.
I'm back now? Okay.
Okay. Nope. Lost you again.
Changing on my side that I can tell.
Can you all hear Simon, or is it just me?
It's like,
There you are. There you are.
I'm back again, so I'm cutting
Yeah.
in and out, strangely.
Heather says I think it's Simon's mic. All right. Good. Don't move. Just stay still.
Okay, I won't move.
So what was the name of the magazine? Losing Today?
Losing Today, like the Slow Dive song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she brought it home from a bookstore because she found it and she's like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, yes.
All right. Gonna have to dig that up someday.
Good idea. I will, I'm sure.
All right. So we've hit, that was Helium, Dirt of Luck. Heather says every time he moves.
So I have to stay perfectly still.
Don't move. Okay, so you have some merch for us you want to share?
Yes, I'll try to do it without moving my torso. So I'll just use my arms. So I'll start with concert tickets because that's easier to do without me moving.
Oh, I love this part. Here we go.
So first one, where is it? Just because we had a bit of a housey techno vibe earlier on with my Nabiha Iqbal pick. This is Orbital from like way back in the day. So I think this was from 1996. Yep, 1996 Orbital at the Opera House in Toronto. And it was just one of those shows where I didn't normally dance at shows because I was an indie rock kid, and this changed my life.
So, okay, well, keep going if you want to share anything about the show, because I actually want to. I want to share something about that show.
It was one of those shows where it was my first proper like electronic show, and so they're up there with their like lights on their heads, doing their thing. So because or on their glasses, I don't know, something lights here, and we all just like danced around the Opera House, and it went on for a very long time. It was a very long night, and it was very enjoyable. And it was memorable because it was kind of like a juncture. It was like a shifting for me in terms of embracing electronic music more so than I had to that point.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was for the Insides tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this connects directly to the question I asked you, if there was a disappointing show, and that was a very disappointing show for me.
Wow. And look at me picking that ticket.
I don't know what the hell I was expecting. And it just didn't do anything for me. And I tend to love those kind of events. Mm-hmm. I was bored. I was really bored. And maybe just being in the dark and all I could see were these, their little headbands with their, I thought it was a little gimmicky. And I thought the visuals that went along with it, and I can't tell you exactly what it was at the time. I don't know. And I was in a great mood, but I left feeling like, wow, I love the music, but I didn't need to go to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. If anyone else has a great orbital experience or a poor orbital experience, let us know. What's the price on that ticket? Did it say?
Oh, it's been ripped off for the price. I remember it being like $16 or $17. It was about that. It was definitely not more than 20.
All right. What other goodies do you have?
So this is I'm trying to be repping a couple different styles here. So there's my Catherine Wheel 1996 ticket stub. So sort of in their way down phase, I guess, when that EP came out and that album. came out, which for me was not my version of Catherine Wheel, but because it was the tour for that album, they played mostly stuff from before that album, which was my thing. And so it was just one of those shows where I went with a good friend, and we just had a really good night, and they were good showmen. Like it felt like a rock show with some elements. Like they were more rock than I thought they were going to be.
Yes.
And so there were rock elements that I thought were good stage presence, good sort of engaging with the crowd, good storytelling, of course, because he's really about telling his stories. It was just a very, very good night. And I'm glad I think I saw them 3 or 4 times after that as well, because I just go back for the show because he's good live. But that was the first time for me seeing Catherine Wheel.
I love that ticket stub. I see, I told you I lost all of my ticket stubs, and when I find them, I'm going to share some of them with you. But I know I have a Catherine Wheel or two for the Chrome tour. And people always say that, My Bloody Valentine, that experience being the loudest show ever, I'd have to say Catherine Wheel at Slim's in San Francisco.
Really?
And I actually was, I was pretty intoxicated at the time, and it was actually very painful. It was very painful. But I mean, I endured, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But yeah, that's what I clearly remember about that show.
The pain.
Yeah, the pain. The pain
makes it memorable, though, right? I guess
so are they? Are they? What are they doing?
I don't know. I've seen lots of rumors that they might be reforming. They might be touring again. I don't know if anything's been confirmed yet. On that side, because it seems like they're due. If we're looking at the tiki box of bands that fit a mold of getting back together, they're in there. So it's just a question of time, perhaps, and maybe opportunity and situation for them to reform.
Who would you love to see reform?
It's so funny because it's happening right now. Velocity Girl. So like for me, they're reforming and playing that gig in DC, and I'm just hoping that they make new material, that they do a little tour. You just hope that it grows a little bit more, so I can get back into that. It's funny because I was thinking the other day about like albums that I wish they would actually press to vinyl, like that are favorites of mine, and a band that people don't generally know about called Close Down. They had this album called Near Field that was on Silent Records back in like 94, 95. And it came out around the same time as Souvlaki. And it sounded like a more ambient version of Souvlaki, but it's really, really good. And I think they were from the San Francisco area. And I mean, if they reformed, they'll never reform because they didn't make it. They were never big enough to reform. But I would love it if Closed Down made more music, or even had their stuff pressed to vinyl so that I could collect it in a different format than CD.
No, there's so many bands, right?
Yeah.
Or think of a band that you saw or you've seen a couple times and they broke up, but you would love to go back and relive that experience again.
This will never happen, and I'm okay with it. But I would love Eric Stripp to get back together and do a couple of shows.
When did you see them?
Eric Stripp?
Yeah.
Years ago, like back in, I think the last time I saw them was back in university. Maybe shortly thereafter, they might have played a show or two. But they were one of the loudest bands I ever saw live. And one of the shows that I saw them do in Peterborough when I was in university, at that point in time, was definitely the loudest. I kind of think that one show that I saw them at in Peterborough was what caused me to be partially deaf. It's like really, it was ridiculously loud, and there were like, again, 70 to 80 people, because it was kind of like a small nightclub in Peterborough called the Trashateria that they played at, and I should have had earplugs, and I was right at the front, and it was painful. Yeah, it was painful and delightful. So
yeah, no, I love having these conversations with you. It takes me down that memory lane there. Any other concert ticket stubs?
I got one left, so I did 3 of these just to keep it tight. But I wanted to.
Oh, nice.
So
I never saw them.
Oh, really? So this was their
No.
first, the first time I saw them, and so this was for Millions, "Living Will Never Die." So they played pretty much that album for this tour, and seeing Dejed, or however you want to pronounce, like the 20-minute opening opus of that album, seeing that live, like they came out and they had jumpsuits. They all had matching jumpsuits on and like little lights. I think they were on like helmets. And so there was a weird kind of presence that they had on this, like when they came out as a troupe. And then they broke into Dejed right away. And it was the coolest. It was just, you're like, this is special. This is something different than a regular show. And then when they played Glass Museum, which is my favorite Tortoise, which is like track 2 on the album, I lost it. That's still one of my favorite songs. I love Glass Museum. Just a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. So yeah, so I wanted to share a bit of Tortoise.
And where was that? Was that at Lee's?
That was at Lee's Palace in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, they played there a bunch of times. Yeah, and it was $11.
Oh my God. Damn.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I'd say for me, the one band I would love to see again, although he can be very difficult on stage, but when I saw them 3 or 4 times in San Francisco, Red House Painters.
Oh, Mark Kozlik, yeah.
And he was in that just moody as fuck. Just like, if he was pissed off at his bandmates, he would tell them to stop playing. If he was annoyed with the crowd, he would call them out. I mean, you really just had to surrender yourself and go, all right, what am I going to be dealing with tonight? And he would say like, okay, we're going to be here for a bit. And it ended up being 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours. And one of my favorite shows he played probably 5 years ago, a place called the Great American Music Hall. Neil Halstead joined him on stage for 2.5 hours.
Jeez.
And wow. Who is the drummer for Sonic Youth?
Oh.
Steve Shelley?
Is that Steve Shelley? Yeah.
Yeah. He played on drums. So it was those three. I mean, that was incredible. And during one of the songs, Mark's playing and he stops the music and he's like, he looks over at Neil and goes, God damn, you look the same as when I first started loving Slowdive. He hasn't aged a bit. Anyway, so yeah, I would love to see. I know obviously he'll never do it again, but yeah, so many memorable concerts. Yeah. I'm going to give you my vinyl pick, and it's sitting right here. For those of you that didn't know, I can enjoy a little bit of the hip hop. I know it's trendy. I get it. Here we go. But I did this event yesterday honoring Beastie Boys, and a couple friends of mine. We went down the Beastie Boys rabbit hole and explored all of their albums. And the gentleman that took this photo, Jeremy Staten, he joined us for the conversation. And he was actually really good friends with Mike D. And he gave us some really cool insight and some stories about the Beastie Boys and Blow On, so on and so forth. But the reason why I'm picking this album is because one of my friends said it the best, and he goes, it's very much like the Sgt. Pepper of hip hop in terms of all the sampling and sounds that are going on. I'm going to ask you, and it's totally fine. Did you ever get into Beastie Boys?
Not superficially, I guess is the term I should use. They were around, and I listened to them, and I didn't dislike them. I saw them. I think I watched them at Lollapalooza when they came around and were part of the Lollapalooza 1995, maybe 96, whatever. So they were fine, and I appreciated what they did. It just was never my thing. Yeah.
So in their catalog, a phenomenal catalog of music, this is my favorite album. Then Check Your Head, number 2. Um, when you go back and play this, it's just extraordinary how how bands make that transition into their next album, and you're like, damn, they have really matured and grown. They had the Dust Brothers on this. There's just so much history to this album and the lore and just the content that was going on at the time for them in terms of their lives moving from New York to Los Angeles. Anyways, I could go on and on, but it's just it's a tremendous body of work that it's an album that I feel like you can just listen over and over again and be like nowhere near of its astonishing accomplishments. So I'm picking Paul's Boutique. So there you go. I was going to do this one.
A Perfect Circle.
A Perfect Circle, yes. This is my favorite album of theirs. Side project for James Keenan Maynard of Tool. So I don't know if you like the production on their albums. I find pretty amazing. So, all right. So when's your next show? DJ show?
Oh, this Thursday. I got to put that together. So a show. I should think about that. Yeah, I've got a Melanating Safety Zone coming up this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern time on DKFM, as always. So that'll be hopefully pulled together in the next day or two so I can get that rolling. And yeah, so that's my next MSC.
Awesome. So yeah, so now I'm seeing Vishala's name here.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nice. Rob has joined us. Terj has joined us. Colin, Heather, and same for me with Orbital. Saw them at Glastonbury. Did you ever go to a Reading Festival or Glastonbury Festival?
No, it's too big for me. I'm like, I like, well, at some point I might do like an All Tomorrow's Parties special episode, I was thinking, because I had so many positive experiences at those, but that was ideal for my type of festival because it was indoors. So you're like staying in a hotel, you're in the compound that you then go to one of the halls to watch the music, and that's indoors. But you can always go back and grab a nap in your hotel room whenever you want and not have it be a muddy tent that's loud.
So I'd never see a Coachella.
No.
Too high. I've never done it. So we have the big festival out here in September, Outside Lands Festival.
Oh, okay.
That's a big one. But yeah, I don't know. Kudos to the people that can survive those shows. Good for you. All righty. Thank you so much for these suggestions, and you'll put them in the chat box, comment box later.
You got it. Absolutely.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Much appreciated. My name is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. This has been Simon Says Vinyl number 7. Looking forward to number 8 next month when we hit August. Talk to you soon, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you.